Thank you, everyone, for staying with us as we begin to wrap it up now on this program. This morning, I have Haruna Brimo with me. He's a public affairs commentator and an economic analyst. Thank you, Brimo, for coming on the program.
Always my pleasure.
Great. So I want us to just run through it real quick. Let's begin with the issue, the decision by the CBN to move its banking supervision department to Lagos. And then, of course, on the other hand, you have the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, also saying, I mean, we're going back to Lagos because we need to be closer to those who regulate. Lagos is the commercial nurse city of the country. But then that obviously doesn't go down well with some vested interest or some stakeholders.
Who are the stakeholders? Who are the vested interests? You know, the Nigeria equation on the Nigeria questions is beyond vested interest. Anything that is not of national interest. Yeah. We're talking of national interest, we're talking of vested interest. Has Nigeria not done enough for them? Has Nigeria not sacrificed enough for the so-called, in quotes, vested interest? We're talking of national interest. We're talking of administrative interest. We're talking of administrative efficiency. We're talking of cost of governance, reducing cost of governance. NPA, Nigeria Port Authority, is in Lagos. NIMASA, Nigeria Maritime Agency, is in Lagos. NCBD is in Yenegua, Nigeria Quarter Development Board. The other building that is in Port Harcourt, I think is NDDC or whatever, headquarters, where Buhari completed and built and commissioned the other time. Did anybody talk about vested interest?
But somebody can argue and say NDDC is a regional...
It's not about regional. These are federal, these are Nigerian institutions. And they are regulated. What of the other one? NIWA, Nigeria Inland Waterways Agency. Where is the headquarters located? In Lokoja. Did anybody talk about vested interest? The list goes on and on. We're talking of CBN, Central Bank of Nigeria. It's not, first of all, the rumor around is that a lot has been awashed on social media. Like Wole Soyinka described, a lot going on there. Nurturing it with promoting ignorance. It's unfortunate, but we have to say it. And the so-called vested interest, instead of them to be ashamed of themselves for not being able to contribute meaningfully to the development of this country, whether politically or economically, they will now lampoon on Nigeria again, orchestrating misinformation, lashing it in the laps of the ignorant youth to promote discord in the Nigeria polity. It's very unfortunate. CBN is telling you, or has said officially, that some departments in its fold will be in Lagos. And this thing was not created just yesterday. It was created 12 years ago, or more than 12 years, when Sanusi Lamido Sanusi was still the CBN governor. When the likes of Moghalu, Kingsley Moghalu was deputy governor. All these places were built. These offices were created and built. Since then, there has not been administrative will or leadership will to take all these things to the right place where they're supposed to be. Post the right people to the right places where they're supposed to be. And the headquarters of CBN here is jam-packed. Everybody wants to work in CBN here in Abuja. How do you supervise banks where more than 80 to 90% of the banking headquarters in Nigeria are located in Lagos? Why are they in Lagos? Because that is the commercial nerves of West Africa. We are talking about the 5th biggest economy in Africa. Lagos, a country inside a country. Do you know the cost it's going to save for us? Supervising the activities of these banks that are in Lagos, that are located, that whose headquarters are located in Lagos. You know the flight, the cost of flight from Abuja to Lagos to do this, to all those bureaucratic bottleneck. We are talking of efficiency in governance. In one way, efficiency drive reduction in cost of governance, which we are all crying for. And the government is sitting down to create an approach that will bring about such efficiency now. We are again turning around to politicize it and be petty.
But there's a fear that, I mean, to use the words of Senator Ali,
of course,
that this is the handiwork of Lagos boys.
Who are Lagos boys? When Buhari was there, we said they were cabals, the Katsina cabal. When Goodluck Jonathan was there, we said they are Niger Delta's cabals. Militants have taken over government. We always sit down Iduma is representing a central district in Borno State. And that is a state that has been infested with insecurity for the past 15 years, if not more than.
But is there anything much he can do beyond what he has done?
As a legislator, as a lawmaker, a frontline one at that, a long-standing lawmaker in the National Assembly, has he influenced anything there? We are not here to talk politics. We are talking of governance. When it's time to play politics, Iduma will be allowed to play politics. But now it should be ignored.
Iduma is a member of the APC, a very top-ranking one at that, for example.
That is not a criteria.
What does this mean for your party?
He's the one who is created. We're talking. I just told you we are talking about governance. And somebody is bringing about politics into it.
But has it not always been about politics?
No, but there's political governance. There's governance of governance. Politics is about war. Governance is about Jojo. After war, you Jojo. We are talking of business of governance that belongs to Nigeria, not APC. APC does not own Nigeria. The President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration owned allegiance to Nigeria, not to APC. Nigeria gave him the political machinery, authority and power to regulate the affairs of this country, relying on the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended 1999 Constitution, and not the Constitution of APC.
So I'd like
and they have not acted.
Yes.
The CBN, the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, none has acted outside the laws.
Nduma says there will be repercussions. What do you understand by that?
He said political repercussions.
Whatever it is, but what does it mean?
He's speaking like a politician. And every politician needs attention. Especially in an equation when a particular politician feels outsmarted in the scheme of affairs, or not be carried along, or not be involved one way or the other. I remember it's from the same state with the vice president. You know, we don't want to go into a political relationship with all those. So when they are seeking political relevance, they pretend, they become flippant on both social media and mainstream media.
Are you saying there's a likelihood that Senator Nduma is probably lashing out from political frustration?
It may not be frustration, it's seeking relevance.
But for a senator who has been in the Senate for this long, how much more relevance can you ask for?
A typical Nigerian politician does not get satisfied. If you like, let him spend 30 years in the Senate, or even let him do third term. Why was Obasanjo looking for third term if he was satisfied with 2 terms as president? They always look for relevance because they don't have any other business outside politics. And that is the trajectory we are trying to change in our generation.
Interesting. But let's talk about how that some people are now afraid or expressing some form of fear that today it's a Yoruba president you have. That's what some people would say, even though we understand that the president is said to be a detribalized Nigerian. He has friends across board and he has reached out to people across this country even long before he expressed his interest of becoming the president. They say today we are moving FAN headquarters, we're moving banking supervision of the CBN to Lagos. Tomorrow, when you have a president from another region of the country, are we sure tables will not turn?
So, if we have the president of, if we have a president from the north tomorrow, they'll move banking supervision to Kano, or to Maiduguri, or to Kaduna, or to Sokoto.
But it may not be the CBN at that point.
I'm still telling you, let us talk about governance.
Yes.
Let's forget this, the flippancy of some political chichidodos who are speaking from both sides of their mouth to seek relevance. Let's face governance. The reason why, I've told you why the CBN department was created, the supervisory department was created in Lagos 12 years ago, not when Tinubu was the president. Was it Tinubu that created the department in Lagos? The question is, why has that department not been functional?
But why was it moved to Abuja in the first instance? Or you don't think we should also...
Do you understand what I'm talking about? The headquarters of CBN was moved to Abuja, not supervisory department, not a department. Do you know how many departments are in CBN? We're talking about supervisory department.
So why is this, why do we have so much of hula value about this particular one?
No, because in the social media, they're not talking of departments. They are saying Tinubu is trying to move headquarters of CBN.
Which is misinformation, obviously.
Of course. And the likes of Uduma are available to fund it. And he has access to media platforms, television stations, who will give him audience, grant him audience to speak from both sides of his mouth.
But can't we use this as a basis to discuss national unity? Because some people say, well, the CBN and all of its agents, all of its departments, as well as FAN, are supposed to be in Abuja to strengthen national unity.
What is the strengthening of national unity? That means every other one I have mentioned to you, NPA is supposed to be in Abuja. When the seaports are in Lagos. I'm telling you that the old banks headquarters are in Lagos. At least 90% of them, they are in Lagos. What is the supervisory department of CBN doing in Abuja?
In the age of technology, must we be physically present in Lagos? I'm just curious.
In the age of technology, somebody is duping somebody from another country and is staying here in Nigeria. Do you know the adverse effects also? You think supervision is limited to smartphones and computers?
So you have to be on the ground?
Not necessarily be on the ground. There are a lot of things. Don't they do clearing system? Meanwhile, CBN has, across the six geopolitical zone, CBN has offices. In your state, Edo State, why is Akwa Ibom not complaining? Or Delta not complaining that they need to come to Benin for clearing system? Because Benin is the headquarter, where CBN put headquarter in Apapava. We have one in Kano for the northwest. We have one in Bauchi for the northeast. I believe we have one in the southeast. Why do we just sit down and begin to take advantage of the ignorance of the majority? Let me explain to you. 75% of your populations are between the age of 15 and 35. And inside this population demography, you now have more than 53% that are less than 15 years old. Do you know the consequences? Either you direct them well, you give them the right information, or you misdirect them and get into trouble. Unfortunately, Nigerian politicians is always thinking of the next election. Obama is already speaking for the next election. He's talking of 2027. Why Tinubu is talking of governance to reposition Nigeria economy?
Is that not the case of a house divided against itself?
Which house?
The APC house.
No, this is not about APC. This is about governance.
But ultimately it comes to that because the presidency is reacting to Ndume's...
the reaction is to correct Ndume since he has assumed ignorance. There's what is called deliberate ignorance. He has assumed to be ignorant of the reality. He has assumed to be ignorant of the truth. When Goodluck Jonathan was creating the department in Lagos or building the offices in Lagos 12 years ago, where was Ndume? Did he criticize it? So now that they have to make the office function and that they have to do post transfers, some of them, they have their cronies who they have influenced into CBN and they wanted to be in Abuja here. Go work for Lagos now.
You see, this is getting more interesting, Brian, because when you look at the whole thing, you see that we as a country, we don't seem to have been able to insulate our institutions from politics. I mean, real politics as a call.
Because the politicians,
yes,
the politician does not have any other business aside politics.
I'm saying that because, I mean, adds to this conversation you and I are having, the fact that in your lifetime, in my lifetime, under our very nose, a 7 CBN governor comes on and says he wants to be president.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes. Has that not further, weakened the fabric of institutions?
No, he attempted to weaken the fabrics.
So you're saying it never had any adverse impact? Is that what you're saying?
No, thank God it never happened. You understand? It just come to show you how desperate a typical Nigerian politician is or can be. We were all also saying that the former CBN governor, Emefiele, was being convinced to run for the presidency of Nigeria by some cabals in the past administration. Was it not alleged? We've always alleged cabals. If the states are efficient and working very well, if the local government are working, everybody will reduce their eyes on the center. That is how federalism thrives. Federalism thrives from down to bottom, not from top to bottom. It's from down to bottom.
But that has not been our experience in Nigeria.
Because we've never been able to check. Have you ever asked your local government chairman what is he doing with allocation?
That's for states that have local government chairman.
And your state has now.
Having waited for what, 3-4 years?
Yeah, who after that, at least we have now. Has anybody asked questions? Since September last year, they swore them in as local government chairman. But we fixate our attention in Abuja. We want to know whether the best... I asked somebody a question 2 days ago on a platform that Obaseki is using 300 million to renovate State House, that is Government House Chapel, Government House Church in Denis Osadebe Avenue in Benin. He's proposing, he's already working, it's work in progress right now, budgeted 300 million for it. But the person, do you know who the reply? He said I should face my Tinubu. That is the kind of country we are. We have excused the 2 tiers of government, local government and state, from the scheme of affairs. And you are facing a federal government that does not have the capacity to make provision for everything that you need.
How do we make our institutions more independent? How do we make them more robust and vibrant so we can minimize this sort of embarrassing conversation?
Until we begin to realize that strengthening those institutions will help us very well on the long run. If we don't realize that, we always see those institutions as tools to drive political relevance, just like Dume is trying to abuse the administrative policy of CBN to drag political attention to himself.
You see, now that you've mentioned Edume again, it brings to mind how that we have not been able to move beyond geopolitics. We still think in terms of the North today, the South tomorrow, the North is against the South is against the North. And then in the end, we hypocritically say it's one Nigeria, it's a federal system of government that we are running. How do we cut down on the hypocrisy?
There's no hypocrisy anywhere, it's the reality. The political reality of Nigeria. We are not just operating a democracy. We are operating a multicultural democracy. A country with more than 500 tribes and more than 270 ethnic groups. You cannot rule out things like this.
But does that excuse the North-South dichotomy?
The dichotomy will always be there because part and parcel of it is to stabilize the system. After the North, it's like it's an arrangement in principle. It might not be in the Constitution.
No, the point I'm making, let's create a bit of a context, is that now that we're talking about CBN's supervision,
these are national,
and then you see the North sees it as a move by the South. Tomorrow when the tables turn, the South sees it as a move by the North.
No, I just told you now that if we see it from the real angle, the essence of the administrative policy of CBN,
the intention of the
of course. So it's not okay. If a northern president comes tomorrow, is he going to move the supervisory department of CBN from Lagos again to Kano or to Sokoto? It's not possible.
I would like to drag you into a second discussion, everyone, because we understand that there's so much of noise now around foreign exchange, and it's been posing a challenge for government and business people across this country. You are a businessman. You are also very vast with regards to economic development. You have also followed the trajectory with regards to forex in this country. A time there was in this country where it was around, the naira to the dollar was something around, not more than 180, 170, 180, all right, at that time. But we see how it has gone berserk now, how it has gone right through the roof. Today, you realize that in the autonomous market, the so-called black market, you're seeing dollar being sold to as high as 1,335 naira and so on and so forth. And now we understand the EFCC is even on the tail of some persons who are alleged, some firms, some of them foreign firms, alleged to have committed infractions with regards to foreign exchange transactions. How did we get here so bad? Okay,
I want to address it fundamentally. From the economic point of view, when dollar was being sold for 180 naira to exchange rate,
yes,
then we have a subsidy of forex. But Nigeria did not know. A lot of persons were crying that we cannot continue to use our earnings to subsidize dollars. And what are you subsidizing it for? Those that have access to dollars or those that have business that's related to dollars. And we are doing this for years, of depleting our reserve to sustain dollar. We did not allow dollar to fight for itself. Unfortunately, the money we would have used to create the infrastructural base to drive the resettlement of the economy, which would have regulated the exchange rates on its own. Because they said the value of currency is in what currency can buy. If your economy is not import dependent, you will not need dollar, at least as much. If your economy depends on dollar solely for economic goods, what are economic goods? Economic goods are those goods you need for further production, like machineries.
Right.
Laptops and all that. It's not just to import food, joystick, toothpick, paste, whatever. We are even importing egusi soup into this country. We saw it. So we did not build the base, and we were depleting our reserve because we were experiencing oil boom. We had the money. But that was a non-sustainable policy. In 2012, President Goodluck Jonathan attempted to starting from curbing the subsidy removal on fuel. We rejected it because it was not addressing the fraudulent aspect. because there was already a Farouk Lawan report.
Are we addressing the fraudulent aspect today?
Because there was Farouk Lawan report that he was supposed to address. Sweeping that report under the carpet and just announcing subsidy removal was what infuriated Nigerians. But in this regard now, we now created, the first thing Buhari did was to create the petroleum, passing the bill.
Of the PIA?
Yeah. Which invariably removed subsidy notionally. Become president, or whoever had become president May 29 would have still gone with it. And the next phase was the liberalization of the forex. Let those that actually need forex go source for it. But unfortunately, what we are having now is a short-term calamity or short-term crisis, whereby the Naira cannot fight. Well, it's like you put a dollar and Naira in the floating market, in the ship. They are all in whatever, in the sea, and they are floating together. Naira cannot float well when the dollar have a big capacity.
Dollar is just
exactly, but gradually, as we begin to drive fiscal measures, which is going to be long term, it's not immediate. It might even outlive this administration, at least their first term. You understand? When those bases of economics fundamentals are being put in place, a lot of fiscal measures in tax reforms, industrialization, especially industrialization and localization of this industry, where the industry are localized in Nigeria, and cutting what EFC is doing now, the criminality in the forex market is being cut, the speculative mechanism will drop. Because most of the thing that fuels this increment in exchange is speculation. Because motive for money, transactional motive, speculative motive, and precautionary motive. That is the reason. Those are the three fundamental reasons you need money. So most people speculate that it will be like this. They now create artificial scarcity.
So everybody is running from pillar to post to get
the multiplier effect, since we are import-dependent nation, it becomes inflation, the multiplier effect, the consequences of such. So by the time you create a speculative motive to drive the prices higher for the dollar, at the end of the day, somebody buy it at a higher price to import food or goods to Nigeria, it will sell at the same price as buying. And by the time he calculates his profit into the total cost, at the end of the day, the inflation comes in with the common man bears.
The other time, the EFCC visited Dangote corporate head office with regards to the same FX discussion that we are having right now. Of course, the company came out to give a statement as to what had actually transpired. What are some of the underlying factors behind such a move by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission?
It's all about speculation. They must have gotten their information right. No, though there was no official statement from
to that effect.
To that effect, and this is what they got information, and they needed clarification because Dangote is one businessman in Nigeria today that uses forex so much.
Maybe nobody uses more forex than
him. So you cannot rule out a lot of speculation in place, or some acts that are inimical to the rules of the game, which the EFCC may have got wind of and wanted to clarify. And they need to get involved in the whole process to go to their headquarters, know their forex transaction, to know if they have erred. We have the different rules that guide the monetary activities in Nigeria. We actually want to make it work. Your bank transactions, everything, they are there. So they didn't just go to Dangote, they also went to BOA headquarters.
You know, we keep hearing about backlog, FX backlog, that the CBN has been struggling, fighting tooth and nail to clear. How did we just wait for it to stack up so badly, and you are hearing airlines are threatening that they are going to fold up and leave the country? It's becoming an embarrassing development and things like that. CBN says we're working to defray, we're working to clear it, and so on and so forth. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, former President Buhari, while in office, had also said that when he was head of state in the early 80s, mid-80s, that you didn't have this much number of bureau de change outlets across Nigeria. Today we have seen a gross proliferation of bureau de change outlets all over this country, from Abuja to Lagos, from Kano to Benin, and so on and so forth. Has that also been a factor?
Yeah, the proliferation of bureau de change contributed. I just told you speculation. The whole thing started with the structural adjustment program of 1986, when Buhari toppled, Babangida toppled the administration of Buhari and liberalized. It started the liberalization. So of the market, not just the entire economy was structurally adjusted to suit the whims and caprices of the multilateral financial corporation like the IMF and World Bank. You know, unfortunately, the program they handed to us, they could not help us to implement it. They thought Nigeria was giant enough to drive some fundamental implementation that would have strengthened the economy. And while we were adjusting, placing ban here and there on the production, our production dropped, we started importing more. You understand? And once you start importing more, your balance of payments and balance of terms of trade was now in deficit. When you compare import to export, you now see that your import is more than export. And if your import is more than, automatically you already created the backlog of forests. Because you need forests to import. What you export is where you earn forests from. You are exporting less and you are importing more. You understand? So definitely you must be having balance of payment deficit. And by extension, it's all this that has accumulated over the years. Every time we're trying to clear what we have some, and you also need to save as a country. You're trying to take from savings here and there to augment this, to augment that. It keeps going. But until we retrace our step, we define an economic system that we want to practice. Because right now we are almost practicing a voodoo economy.
Is that a blessing or a curse?
It's a curse. Yeah, one step forward, two steps backward. We are rigmaroling.
Well, we
don't know what we are practicing. Is it capitalism? Democracy entrenched capitalism and liberalism.
But some people say it's a hybrid sort of economy model that will follow.
We have not even followed the local breed. You are going hybrid. You have not been able to apply a cookie dog, and you are going for Rottweiler. Not be wala be that.
That's an interesting analogy there that you just drew. But again, let's talk about the BDCs for a second. They are regulated by the Central Bank of Nigeria. They are also licensed by the CBN, I understand. So how do we just find this kind of radical proliferation? It's as if nobody is watching.
Because over the time, we've created monetary policies that has led to policy somersault. For example, when Soludo was the CBN governor, before Soludo was Abacha, we just have one AFEM, Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market. And Abacha created Fed Bank, created all sorts of tribunal to check the activities of some people today. I know who owns bank. They were all arrested then. They were punished. Some were banned for some time to not.
A good number of them are still back in the industry.
Well, some of them are the role models of today bank itself. Yeah, they've gone global. It's an interesting scenario in this country.
Right.
Yeah, you become a criminal today, you go global tomorrow, become a role model, and you now mold narrative. You know, it's going to be very hard, except to do what is called mental revolution, to know that those that are telling us this is it today, we are the people of yesterday that put us in where we are today.
And there are no repercussions?
Of course, they have not been. So when Abacha left the scene, the first Sanusi came, Joseph Sanusi was also there, and Soludo took over. Soludo brought what is called WDAS, Wholesale Dutch Auction System. He now appointed some major banks where you give dollars to. Those major banks, like OSE, they get the dollar from the central bank as OSE. That was where the liberalization started, though. Try to remove their hand from Autonomous Foreign Exchange Clearinghouse, where you need to come every Wednesday to get your dollar. Now you now select some few banks, maybe like 5 banks.
Designated.
You give them the dollar at a discount, creating their profit. So telling them, don't sell more than this. But you are not controlling them. These people will now create fictitious companies and burn the chain that does not exist. They have agents to burn the chain.
And the money finds its way back to the black ones.
Exactly. So they now become a triple of the money. So that OSE was to clear the issue of everybody coming to CBN. You understand? But there was no integrity in the whole process. And we now said, okay, let's go to retail. RDAS, Retail Dutch Auction System. You know the difference between retail and you understand? We've tried almost every other model before we now said, okay, let's free the dollar, let's liberalize it, let it flow by itself.
Was that a right decision?
Because we don't even have the money to support the dollar again.
So we did it out of frustration. We were overwhelmed.
Well, we are overwhelmed, unfortunately. You cannot continue to deplete your reserve that you need to build infrastructure, strengthen your economy, pay salaries to be sustaining dollars that will still find its way to the hands of political and economic buccaneers.
You know, there was a time, former CBN Governor Sanusi Lamido Sanusi had said during an interview that we live in a country where people can sit in their houses and just pick up their phones, they buy dollar at CBN rates. they round trip, sell at the autonomous markets, make their profit quickly, ride it on their phone, and then repeat that cycle. That was one point he made. The second point, which probably is even more salient, more troubling at the same time, is that Nigeria could not continue to have multiple exchange rate windows, I and E, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Now we understand that they've all been merged. In all of this, you always see the hands of the multilateral institutions you mentioned a while ago. I mean, all of the Bretton Woods institutions, the IMFs of this world, the World Banks of this world, and so on and so forth. In the course of the screening of Dr. Olayemi Cardoso, now the CBN governor at the Senate, former Edo State governor, now the senator representing Edo North Senatorial District, Adams Aliyu Oshomole, said very clearly that, look, the CBN as an institution and the government of President Bola Tinubu cannot afford to be strapped to the apron strings of the World Bank and of the IMF going forward. That if we continue to do that, which has been the practice for decades, we are obviously saying we are not ready to make a difference or to turn the tide around for the better. Do you share that opinion?
Not when you are in a situation of economic cliffhanger.
So Oshomole was not very realistic economically when he said that?
It was being idealistic. There's a difference between idealism and realism.
Right.
The reality is that we are at, and you have multilaterals who are ready to and willing to give you forex on some condition. They also want to give you condition to protect their investment. That is how they sustain. You understand my point? A situation whereby the food inflation is hitting as high as 28%, and the typical Nigeria does not have the patience of telling him to wait even in a family circle season. That you plant corn today, you are going to reap the corn in the next 3 months. All you need right now is that you want to eat corn. So whether they are telling you to open border, they don't know the consequence of opening border. Opening border means killing the local industries. You see what I'm telling you, that we are we are at economic cliffhanger. Ideally, what Oshomole said is very correct. But in reality, we can only do small, or we can only attempt to do small, or we try to manage both. Don't be too much with the IMF. Whatever you are doing with them, remember you have a local economy to build.
Because ultimately it comes down to the local economy.
Exactly.
Just as we begin to tie it up now, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who also was one of the political foes of President Bola Tinubu in the last presidential election, is now asking the president, in fact telling him, you owe Nigerians explanation over the $3.3 billion emergency loan. All right, you've got to tell us in black and white what exactly are the conditions, because he's saying, I mean, he's yet to give us very clear details about that Nigeria will have to most likely in the end pay $12 billion in return. Because we're talking about FX.
I was on this studio. We were in this studio where we talk about that money.
Right.
That was going to come from Africa.
Afreximbank.
Afreximbank. And I told you it was not a loan. It was an advance payment for a crude tied to crude supply. I explained it here on this program. Unfortunately, we are in a country where those who should willingly hand themselves up or apologize to Nigerians for what they have bequeathed on us, or the calamity they have brought upon us economically and politically, they always find their way because they have access to media, they are big men, they are bourgeois. Let me assume Atiku is ignorance of the whole deal. I think he should have consulted his expert or his team of experts to explain to him what was the deal, the $3 billion deal with the NNPC. Because if me can explain it on this program, it's like I'm into supplies of goods and a customer tells me that he's going to pay me in advance for XYZ goods I'm going to supply to him in future. And we agree on terms. What are these terms? There are two ways. Either I agree to sell at the prevailing price of those goods, at the future prevailing price of the goods, or the present prevailing price of the goods, isn't it? Those are the two terms. There was nowhere they measured interest or whatever. And let me refresh Nigerians' memory. This is an opportunity. Since Atiku has decided to dance naked in the public, let us help him to remove the cloth finally. He was in Obasanjo administration as a vice president, where Nigeria was went to World Bank and Paris Club
to ask for debt forgiveness.
They lied to Nigeria that we were forgiving debt. Meanwhile, they paid $12 billion. It was
was that not part of the
no, they said debt forgiveness. If I'm owing you 10 naira and you tell me it's forgiven, comrade, I'll forgive you the 10 naira. Is that not debt forgiveness? If I owe you 10 naira, you tell me that, okay, let me remove the interest that made it 10 naira. Maybe actually I borrowed 2 naira. Okay, give me 5 naira. I've covered the interest. I write off the other one. That is not debt forgiveness. That is debt rediscount, a discounted debt payment. We are in this field. We are professionals in this field. But they politicize it because they were looking for second term of 2003. Obasanjo was jockeying around the whole place saying that they have gotten debt forgiveness for Nigeria. Meanwhile, you carry, how much did we borrow that made up to, you pay 16 billion rather, and we borrowed 12 billion. The principal of that debt that Nigeria was owing Paris Club was $12 billion. But you carry, which person you want to carry 16 billion cash go give when no go appreciate? Meanwhile, we could not even, inside the 16 billion was what Buhari again came in 2015 to discover that we were overcharged. We were shortchanged because our DMO was not efficient enough. Nigeria could not tell Paris Club. The administration of Vice President, former Vice President Atiku and Obasanjo could not tell Paris Club, this is how much. Debtor cannot tell creditor how much he borrowed from creditor. Creditor was not determining. Creditor was telling us how much we were owing them.
No records.
No records, of course. And we overpaid until it was investigated. That is what gave rise to the Paris Club reform. Kudos to former President Muhammadu Buhari. And such person, he was the chairman National Council on Privatization, who told the whole Nigeria that there is no business of government doing business. More than 400 agencies, public corporations, including Nigeria Airways and co, were sold, including the biggest aluminum metal company in Africa, Ascon, in Ikota Abasi, built by Nigeria government with $3.2 billion, and Atiku sold it to a company he has vested interest in for a paltry $200 and something million. And when Kadira Ahmed asked him in 2019 election, why did he do that? He said he has apologized to Nigeria. That is travesty.
So you are saying that Atiku does never have the moral basis?
All of them, I keep telling you, if Nigeria must go forward, I should rather listen to the likes of Showore. Those who ruin our today is their mismanaged yesteryears should not come out today, because they like Chinua Achebe said, they have the hand of benevolent spirit that covers their corrupt acts of the past. They now mistake us, taking us for a ride because of these youth that were giving birth to. Some of them were born in 2000 in the Gen Z. They don't even know our sense of history, where we are coming from. Okay. Every pain we are going through today, Atiku contributed to it. In this country.
We understand history has been reinstated in the curriculum.
Yes, this is part of the history. Yeah. We are revisiting it.
Exactly.
We are going to continue like this. Program like this, remind Nigerians. Where we are coming from, those who brought us to the new we are today. And we are also blaming. We are not saying the man that is there, say he asked for this job. To carry us up.
And he knows,
the new we are.
He knows the challenge.
We are taking the responsibility. But at the same time, we should always not allow political shenanigans
to get in the way.
Yes, those misrules, those who led us to this point.
Aruna Abrahamo, I'd like to...
Atiku still being in the polity of Nigeria since 1991, having failed in a Jos Township Stadium against Abiola when he contested the first contest for president. It's a slap on the sensibility of Nigeria.
I'd like to say thank you to you, Aruna Abrahamo, for coming to talk to us about these very topical issues this Friday morning. We hope you have a great weekend ahead of you.
Thank you very much.
That's Global Morning for you this Friday. Thank you for watching. On behalf of my co-host, Queen Agaba, and the entire team here at Global Television, we say thank you for watching. Have a great day.